This is the exciting part when everything begins. Here we go. We are back together once more. Hello to everyone out there. Are you ready? Are you ready to rumble? Here we go. English Addict. With you once again, coming to you from a very wet and soggy birthplace of the English language, which just happens to be England. Hi everybody, this is Mr. Duncan in England. How are you today? Are you okay? I hope so. Are you feeling happy? Are you feeling happy today? I hope you are feeling good. Here we go again. For those who don't know what this is, well, this is the internet. This is where anything can happen, and quite often anything does happen. Here we go again. Yes, it is English Addict with myself, Mr. Duncan. I am one of those. You see, I am an English addict, and I have a feeling that you might be one of those as well. We are back together again, live. There are still people who don't believe that this is live. It is live 100%. I can promise you that right now. And I hope you are having a good day. We have made it all the way to the middle of the week without blowing ourselves up yet. It's Wednesday. We are back together, and I hope you are having a super duper Wednesday so far today. I hope it's turning out exactly how you dreamt it would. Yeah. Not feeling too bad today. My voice, I don't know why, my voice cannot decide whether it wants to work or not. I have a slight sore throat. I don't know why. But I've just had some water and I feel much better now. Here we go. Yes, it is a wet one today. I will be honest with you. We have had a lot of rain over the past 12 hours. You can see outside there are some rain clouds in the sky looking very ominous. Oh, I like that word. If something is ominous, it means it might bring danger or maybe damage, something that is seen as a warning even. So there is the view out of my studio window right now, and yes, we are back together again, and it's ever so nice to be with you. It really is. I hope you are having a good Wednesday. This is English Addict Extra. Of course, we have together time on Sunday. We are together on Sunday from 2 p.m, but also during the week as well. I like to give you something extra during the week, and I hope you enjoy it. Thank you very much for joining me today. Of course, we have the live chat. Hello, live chat. Nice to see you here. Congratulations to Victoria. Victoria, guess what? You are first on today's live chat. Congratulations to you. Good. That's great. That's fantastic. Congratulations to you. Also, Beatrice, we have Mosen here as well. We also have Beatrice. Did I just say Beatrice? Maybe I'm stuck in a time loop. Maybe that is what is happening. Palmyra. We also have Vitas. Hello, Vitas. You are not first today, unfortunately. We also have, I think I've said hello to Vittoria. We also have, hello to Luis Mendez is here today. Thank you very much, Luis. Can I also say thank you very much for your lovely message last week? I received a lovely email from Luis, just reassuring me that I'm still young and I have my health. I am feeling much better after my little adventure with coronavirus, but I am feeling much better, thank you very much. There are certain parts of my body that are still not working properly. There are some things that are still a little strange, although I think I had those before I caught COVID. I think some of those things might already exist, to be honest. I'm going out tonight. I know you are always interested to find out what happens in my life. I know it. Yes, you are, aren't you? Is anyone? Tonight I'm off to see a show. Mr. Steve, myself, and also one of our friends we are going to see a lovely amateur dramatic show tonight. And I think we are also having a meal before that as well. So just in case you're watching, Martin, hello Martin, we will see you later. And we are going to see a show called Kinky Boots. I have to be honest with you, I've never heard of the show. I've never seen any of this show. I know nothing about it. So everything that happens tonight will be a big surprise. So I can't wait for that. I'm assuming we are going for a curry. Are we? Are we having a curry later? Now I am excited. I really am. Hello also to Jimmy. Jimmy from Hong Kong is here as well. Also, who else is here today? Let's have a look. Fernando. Magdalena. Hello, Magdalena. Nice to see you back. It feels like a long time since we were here together, but nice to see you back as well. Zudzika is here. We also have, moving down the list, Simir Almir, who says, well, those look like tears. Why? Why are you crying? Don't cry. Cheer up, everyone. Also, we have Marwar. Welcome back today. Galip is here as well. Muhammad is here. Muhammad Elamzangi. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. And also hello to Fiduso. We also have Alexandro. And we have, who else is here today? I'm just trying to read your name, but unfortunately it is not in English. But I will say hello to you anyway, and thank you very much for your lovely comment about my voice. Your voice is sweet. Well, I'm not sure if everyone agrees with that. A lot of people don't like my voice. They say it's very annoying, Mr. Duncan. Sometimes your voice is very annoying. Well, I will try my best to please everyone. Of course, the problem with doing that is if you try to please everyone, you eventually please no one, because you can never please everyone. That is the problem. Today we are looking at fantasy because today is the 4th of May. And a lot of people now have adopted this day as Star Wars Day because it is May the 4th. You see, May the 4th be with you. Yes. I remember as a child, way back in the 1970s, the late 1970s, we used to make that joke many years ago before it became trendy. So yes, we know all about that. As older people who were around when Star Wars was originally released in the cinemas. So I remember a period of time before there was anything called Star Wars. And then suddenly it arrived and the world seemed to change in many ways. Certainly the way in which movies are made and produced changed because of that one movie. But hello to everyone, and hello to Pham Thi Trang. Yes, it is May the 4th, and today we are looking at living in reality or living in a fantasy. Because, of course, Star Wars is often categorized as being fantasy. It is something that is not real. It has been created, so it is not real. It is not reality, although sometimes it is possible to slip into a situation or a way of life that is not real. However, the person living that life believes that it is real. So it is possible to slip from reality, which is this, to fantasy, which is something else quite different indeed. Can I say hello to Mosen? Hello, Mosen. Nice to see you here as well. It's a good day to be with us. Thank you very much. There are subtitles. If you want to have captions, you can. I often forget to mention that during the live stream, there are live captions, and you can activate the captions by pressing C on your keyboard. So yes, you can have captions. Emin Shirinov, we do actually have live captions. And we also have recorded captions as well later on. So if you are watching the replay, if you are watching the recorded version of this live stream, then you can also have captions as well. It's nice to be back with you today. So we are looking at fantasy. There are two ways of living your life. You can live in reality, which is this, or you can live in fantasy, which is something that is not real. You might be amazed to find out just how many people live their lives in a fantasy world. They don't live in reality. And I suppose there are many situations where a person might find it difficult to cope or to handle daily life. So maybe moving into a fantasy world or creating fantasy for yourself is a way of coping or dealing with the pressures of reality. So I'm sure we do it sometimes. We all sometimes like to daydream. I do it. And I'm pretty sure you do it as well during your daytime. You will suddenly drift away in your mind. You will probably imagine doing a different job. Perhaps you will imagine having a completely different life with a completely different person. Maybe you dream about finding that perfect partner. Even if you're already married, it can happen. So even a husband or a wife might fantasize, they might daydream about finding that perfect person, even if they are already in a relationship. So I think it's fair to say that we all do it. We all drift away. Sometimes in our minds, we like to daydream. However, I always think that daydreaming is a short thing. It doesn't really affect your life in any way, but it is possible to turn those fantasies into something that become a big part of your life. And I think that's the danger when your fantasies that you have in your head somehow become involved in the reality of your life. And I have met a lot of people. I've had people in my life who don't exactly live in the real world. They have, I suppose I would call it a fantasy life, or they believe that this reality is their fantasy, and sometimes the other way round. Maybe they believe their fantasy is their reality. It can happen. Palmyra does not like Star Wars. It's okay, I still like you. It's all right, you don't have to like it. I'm a big fan of Star Wars. It changed my childhood way back in 1978 when I went to see Star Wars for the first time. And it did change my life, I suppose. We all have to have something that we enjoy. We all have to have some sort of escape. So we often see fantasy as a type of escape from the drudge of real life. Drudge. It's a great word, that. When we talk about drudge, we mean the boring things, the things that seem to go on forever. Maybe in your daily life, if you have something you have to do every day, the same thing, again and again and again. We often describe this as drudge. It's a great word. In fact, I will put that on the live chat. Do you mind? I'm just going to put that. There it is. Drudge. It's a great word. It means something that is the same, something that is tedious, or something repetitive that you have to keep doing again and again. The word is drudge. I like that. I hope you enjoyed it as well. Beatrice says, I like to put a bit of fantasy in my life every day, but not Star Wars fantasy. So you never get the urge, you never feel as if you want to dress up like Princess Leia or an Ewok. You never feel the urge to do that. Have you ever been to a science fiction convention? Across the world, there are lots of conventions, lots of group meetings where people come together and they will all share their love of a certain type of fantasy. Maybe Star Wars, maybe Lord of the Rings, which is coming back, by the way. Lord of the Rings is coming back. They've made a TV show. Can you believe it? Will it be successful? Or will it be just a load of woke nonsense? We will have to wait and see. Perhaps you like Harry Potter. Maybe you like dressing up like Harry Potter. Or who's the other guy? Who's the big hairy guy? Is it Hagrid? Hagrid? Maybe you like dressing up as Hagrid and walking around the streets. Hello, Muhammad. Hello also, Vitas. Vitas says hard worker. Drudge. Hard work. Yes, labour. Normally things that you have to do again and again. No one likes to have their daily drudge. We can also describe it as drudgery as well. Drudgery. The daily drudge of life. You have to work every day. You have to do the same things over and over again. Azul says, hello, what does the sentence, May the 4th be with you? Well, it is actually what we call a play on words. So instead of saying, May the Force be with you, we say, May the 4th be with you, because today is May the 4th. So you might say that it is a kind of pun or joke. We are taking one sentence and turning it into something else. So that's the reason why we're doing that today. So that's what we're looking at in a few moments. Talking of work, can I just send some lovely congratulations to someone in Brazil? I know I have a lot of viewers in Brazil, but here is a story that really made me smile this morning. Congratulations to 100-year-old Brazilian man, Walter Orthman, who has worked for the same company for over 85 years, having started work at the age of 15. So he actually started working for the same company that he still works for now at the age of 15. And now he is 100 years old, and guess what? He is still working for the same company. 100-year-old Brazilian man becomes the longest-serving employee of a company. As I said, his name is Walter Orthman, and he has worked for the same company for over 85 years. Can you imagine, for a moment, working for the same company, doing the same job for 85 years? I have to be honest with you, I don't think I could do that. I think I might go a little bit crazy. Walter was officially added to the Guinness Book of Records during a special ceremony. So there he is. There is Walter receiving his special award, and also he has been officially added to the Guinness Book of Records for being the longest serving employee of one company for the longest period of time ever. Congratulations, Walter. I wonder how many more years he will be working for that company. I suppose we can all ask that question from time to time. How much longer will I be doing this? How much longer will I be here on YouTube? I sometimes ask that question. Sometimes I ask it to myself just before I start my live stream. How much longer? How much longer can I carry on doing this? Maybe another 5 years, perhaps another 20 years, maybe another 50 years. I suppose it depends on how long I live for. So if my life is short and I die at an early age, then I won't be doing it for very long, really, when you think about it. Hello also to Florence. Hello, Florence. Congratulations to this man, Walter. Yes. Working for the same company for over 85 years. Amazing. I'm impressed. Now, in the past, I'm only talking about here in England. In the past, we used to sometimes work for a company and we would expect to stay with that company for many years. Although these days, I think things have changed. Quite often, especially with young people, I don't think young people want to stay in the same job forever and ever. So in the past, for example, I suppose my father and my grandfather, I suppose I would think that they started their job at an early age and then did it for many years, the same job for many, many years. But I think these days, I think a lot of people don't want to do that. They actually don't want to do the same job for many, many years. So I've been doing this now for nearly 16 years on YouTube. 16 years. I can't believe it. But before that, of course, I've done other jobs. I've had lots of jobs in my life. Lots of situations, lots of interesting jobs. And sometimes lots of not so interesting jobs. So one of the things about finding work, one of the things about finding a job is that sometimes you have no choice. Sometimes you don't have much choice. of the job that you take. So that has happened to me in my life. Sometimes you have to take the job that you can find. It might not be the best job in the world. It might not be a satisfying job. However, you do get paid. And sometimes that is the most important part of it. Hello, Paul Lay. Hello, Paul Lay. This May, on the 17th, my father-in-law will turn 100 years old. Congratulations. I will also tell him about the story that you shared recently. Yes. Well, what I find amazing about that story about Walter is that he still works for the company. I think he's still working. That's incredible. So imagine that. Imagine enjoying your job so much that you are willing to do it for 85 years. Incredible. Hello to Beyond Awake. Hello, Beyond Awake. Nice to see you back as well. We also have Luan Trevisan, who says, I am your number one fan. Thank you very much. Pedro. Hello, Pedro. Or should I say Pedro Belmont is here today. I won't be here very long, only about 10 minutes. That's all right, Pedro. It's lovely to see you here anyway. And can you see behind me? It's raining. Outside my studio window, the rain is now coming down again. We have a very wet day today. In a few moments, we are talking about today's main subject, which is living in a fantasy world. I think the rain is getting into my connection, my internet connection. I hope I'm still here. The rain is falling and maybe my hot internet wire is getting a bit hot and also wet. Do, 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 do. Hello. Welcome back. Today we are looking at living in a fantasy world. We were talking about working for a company or working in your job for many, many years. Florence says, oh, wait there a moment. Palmyra says, My husband has worked for 42 years in the same school. 42 years, that is a very long time. I think sometimes if you like your job, if you love your job, then why would you change it? Why would you move somewhere else? Why would you change everything? I also think sometimes the longer you do something, the harder it becomes to change from it or to move away from it. So I think if you work for a company for maybe 10 or 12 years, you might find that it becomes much more difficult to give up that job or to change that job. So I think that can also happen as well. Congratulations, Palmyra, for your husband working for 42 years. And Florence says, yes, 42 years is a very long time. I think 42 years is a long time to do anything. Anything, to be honest. Anything in your life whatsoever. Hello to Hala. Hello. Can I say hello to Hala? Hello to you. Nice to see you here. I don't recognise your name. Is it your first time here? If it is, please let me know. So we are looking at fantasy and reality. And I thought it would be an interesting subject because today is May the 4th. You see? A lot of people say that this is Star Wars Day because you can say, May the 4th be with you. May the 4th, you see? It's a joke. A lot of people enjoy that joke for some reason. Some people don't, of course. Reality and fantasy. We are looking at the subject of living in reality. But what is reality? Well, first of all, we look at maybe two sides of the coin. So we can look at living in the real world, living in reality. So the things that we see around us, the things that we can see, hear, touch, smell, or taste. Reality. That is reality. We can also live in an unreal world, which I think is quite topical because a lot of people these days are talking more about artificial intelligence and also living in the alternate universe, which is now seen as becoming more common with virtual reality. Some people believe that in the future there will be no reality that you actually touch or you actually have contact with. It's a little bit scary, to be honest. I'm not going to joke with you. It is a little bit scary, actually. So living in the unreal world might be also described as living in a fantasy world as well. The word reality relates to what is real and perceived as true. So when we say that you perceive something, it is your sense, the sense of seeing, hearing, and I suppose also understanding. So the word reality relates to what is real and perceived as true. A real thing is tangible. I like that word. So if you describe something as tangible, it means it can be grasped or understood. Something that is tangible. A real thing is tangible. It is accepted as real. To live in the real world is to accept what is seen as reality. So quite often when we talk about reality, we talk about the things that are accepted as being real. Maybe information, maybe the things that you've seen can be also described as reality. The sense of reality allows us to have continuity and stability. So again, having a sense of reality is seen as also having a sense of stability. You are stable. And also continuity. So every day we live our life, we experience the world around us, and then we go to bed and we have a sleep. But the next day we wake up and all of that reality is still there. But also it is still there up here in our minds. So our grasp of reality allows us to have continuity and also stability as well. The next part, we gain our sense of reality from many different sources, many different places. We gain our sense of reality from many different sources. Our own senses help us to construct the feeling of what is real. For example, your 5 senses, the senses that we have, your sense of sight, your sense of hearing, your sense of touch. Quite often, they help you to construct the feeling of what is real. Acquiring knowledge as to what is real also helps to build a sense of reality. So the things that you see, the things that you learn, knowledge, can also help to give you a base of what is real, reality. Acquiring knowledge, learning, and I suppose that is the reason why we see education as such an important thing. It is. That's why. Education is important because it is part of building your understanding of the world around you. So it's not just seeing and hearing, it is also knowing as well. You might say that one person's reality differs from another person's view of what is real or true. Yes, I think that is perfectly fair. I think it's very fair to say that one person's reality might be slightly different from another person's reality. Especially when we're talking about opinions. One person's opinion will be different from another. But why is this so? Why are the opinions of people different? It is because of their perception of the world around them. So quite often you will find that a person's knowledge, experience, and how they see the world will also shape their opinions as well. And that is the reason why people often disagree. We all see things from a different angle. I think it's very, very fair to say that we all see things from different angles, different perspectives. The word reality and fantasy relate to what is real and what is created. So reality is real and fantasy is created. The word fact relates to truth, while the word fiction relates to untruth. So we talk about facts as being reality or real or true, and then we look at the word fiction, which relates to that is seen as untrue, false, or fake. So there are different ways of looking at both of those things. You might say that the reality is the actual and fantasy is the notional. So the actual thing is the reality, and then we look at notional. If something notional is something that is thought about, maybe a theory, a way of looking at something, maybe a person's perspective of something. So it is not necessarily real. It is not necessarily true. A person might find living in a fantasy world more appealing and a source of comfort. And this is what can happen. I think an individual, a person, can begin to live in a fantasy world. Maybe the reality, maybe their real life is too hard to bear. Maybe there are parts of their real life that they don't like. So they will invent, they will create a fantasy life or a fantasy world, and that will give them comfort. Some people will exaggerate or create their own reality by living a fantasy life. So that is when things become a little bit more serious, so to say. So instead of daydreaming, instead of thinking of things that you would like to do, those fantasies start to become part of your real life. You introduce your fantasies, your daydreams. They are no longer dreams. They become reality. They become a type of reality. That is to say, the reality that you see. There are many forms of living in a fantasy world, such as creating a fake past. This happens a lot. Now, I'm going to say something now, but I'm not going to make any personal judgments, but I have known people in my life who have turned out to be living a completely fake life. Maybe they tell me things that they've done in their past. Maybe they create situations that never happened. But they do it because it makes them feel more comfortable, or maybe because they need extra attention. So I have known people in the past, and I still know some now. I have to be careful what I'm saying, by the way. I do know people. There are people who I've met in my life who eventually have revealed that the things they've told me about themselves were actually not true. They have made things up, quite often to make themselves feel better, by pretending to have a serious illness or a tragedy in one's life. So a person might pretend to be ill, seriously ill. They might fake an illness to get attention. Or maybe they will pretend that something bad has happened in their life. I know a person, again, I have to be careful what I'm saying, but I do know someone who once pretended that their father had died. They told me that their father had died. And of course, for many days afterwards, we were concerned and worried about that situation. But unfortunately, the problem with that kind of lie, that type of lie, is quite often it will eventually be revealed to be untrue. So sometimes living that fantasy and creating things that didn't really happen, sometimes, well, I think it's a risk that you take, especially if you are saying that someone died when they didn't. Maybe a person tells you that their father has died, and then a few weeks later you find out that their father is still alive and not dead. It can happen. And I suppose we live in a modern age, the age of computers, the age of the internet. A person who craves attention or sympathy might create drama relating to their own life. So a person might actually invent things for attention or sympathy. Maybe they pretend that they are divorced, or maybe they pretend that they've recently lost a close relative, as I said a few moments ago. A person who craves attention or sympathy might create drama relating to their own lives. As I mentioned a few moments ago, the internet. Ah, yes, the internet. You can go onto the internet and you can invent yourself from the very beginning. You can create your own childhood. You can create your own life. You can create your own career. You can virtually be whoever you want. Literally, virtually. And of course, over the past few years, there have been people who have been caught in their own fantasy by pretending to be someone or something that they are not. So the internet has allowed us to exaggerate our lives and to only show what we want other people to see. We only reveal what we want other people to see. And sometimes we make those things up. Maybe a person makes that thing up. They pretend. Maybe a person says that they are a doctor or an aircraft pilot or a magician. Although I don't know why. Why would anyone pretend to be a magician? I don't know why you would do that. So that is one of the things about the internet. You can virtually create your own reality to other people. So people will view you differently. The occurrence of fake personalities on social media has become widespread over recent years. So as I mentioned a few moments ago, there have been very high-profile personalities, influencers on the internet, either on Instagram or here on YouTube. There have been many people who have been exposed. They've been revealed to not be the person they pretend they are. Quite often people will pretend to be wealthy. This happens a lot on Instagram. There are many people on there who flex and they show their wealth. But they've also been revealed not to be wealthy and not to have those things. And that is, I suppose that's a very good example of creating your own reality, creating a reality that is not real. And I suppose it's easy to do these days. It's very easy to do it if you want. Not everyone does it. What about you, Mr. Duncan? Is your life real, or did you just make it all up? Unfortunately, I'm sorry to say, it's all true. Everything that's happened in my life that I've told you about is true. And the reason why I know that is because I share everything. You know all about my life, the ups and the downs. Christina makes a very interesting point. I do not believe in finding love on the internet. That is a very good point. I like that. Yes, I didn't even mention that. So maybe if a person is looking for love, maybe they are trying to find a partner or a relationship with someone, they might pretend to be something they are not. So that is a very good point. I like that one. Yes, it can be a difficult situation if you are trying to find a relationship and you use the internet. You have to be careful because you might end up being, I think they call it catfished. Is that right? A catfish is a person who goes on the internet and they pretend to be one person, or they create a fake life, but in reality they are a completely different person. I think it is called catfishing. Am I right? I believe there was a TV program devoted to that actual subject. It has become much harder to verify what a person says about their past. So if a person goes on the internet and creates a fake life, you might find it difficult to prove that that life is fake. However, there are people now who dedicate a lot of their time to trying to find out whether that person is a real person or not. Or perhaps they are just living in a fantasy. Wow. The rain is really coming down now. Can you see the rain is now falling behind me? We have a very rainy day here in England. We might describe this type of person as a fantasist or a Walter Mitty character. Walter Mitty. Walter Mitty, by the way, is not a real person. He is the hero of the story The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, which was written by James Thurber way back in 1939. The character of Walter Mitty was someone who indulged in extravagant daydreams of his own triumphs. So he was a fantasist. He wasn't a real character. He's a fictional character. But in the story of Walter Mitty, he often daydreams and believes that he can do more with his life than he really does or really has. Something very serious now. The disorder Munchausen syndrome is the act of seeking attention through personal illness or suffering. However, that particular illness or suffering is not real. Or maybe you do something to make yourself ill. And there are people who do this. So because they are so desperate to get sympathy and attention, they will actually make themselves ill in reality. So maybe they take a small amount of poison every day to make themselves ill. So to other people around them, their illness is real because the symptoms are also real. So we often describe this particular illness as a mental illness called Munchausen syndrome. And it can happen. There is also Munchausen's by proxy, which involves using the illness or suffering of another person for attention. Quite often, a child, so maybe a mother, will make her child ill on purpose. So she will get attention. The mother is looking for attention. So she will purposely make her child ill or unwell to get attention. And this is something that also happens. But what about you? Have you ever met anyone in your life? Do you know someone who lives in a fantasy world? Maybe we all do. There are some people who believe that we all live in a fantasy world and that nothing is real. A little bit like the Matrix, you see. So I suppose for some people, reality can be anything they want it to be. But what about you? Have you ever met someone? Have you ever had a friend or a work colleague, someone you've known in your life, and they've been creating their life? They've been pretending to do a certain job, or maybe they've been pretending to have an illness, a part of their life that can be seen as fake. Vittoria says, Mr. Duncan, I suppose deep down many of us are a little bit like Walter Mitty. Well, I suppose so. But I think the danger is when it starts to become part of your real life. So I don't think there is anything wrong with fantasy. Fantasy is quite a healthy thing. I think it's great to enjoy something that is not necessarily real. However, you have to make sure also that you keep your feet on the ground and that you don't start to believe that the fantasy is real. And that is the problem, I think. Christina says, I live in the real world. Sometimes it's the best place to be. It's not pretty. It's not pleasant. Living in reality sometimes can be a little difficult and not very pleasant. Not everybody on the internet is fake. Well, that is true. Yes, you are right. Not everyone who uses the internet, not everyone looking for love, not everyone who takes photographs of their expensive house, not everyone is fake. However, there are situations where a person might do it. They might be pretending to be wealthy or married. They might be pretending to have a successful career. It can happen. It really can. And the problem with that is quite often that person will then destroy another person's life. Another person will also be damaged because they became close. Maybe they developed a relationship with a person who was living in a fantasy world. So you do have to be careful. And I think when you are doing things on the internet, it is very easy to be tricked or misled. I think so. I hope you've enjoyed today's live stream. It has been a little bit different. We've had a lot of rain here today. I think it stopped again. Has the rain stopped? No, it hasn't. It's still raining outside. Look. It's not a very nice day today, I will be honest with you, but I hope I have still managed to bring a little bit of sunshine into your day. I will be back with you on Sunday, by the way. Don't forget, Sunday I will be here with you from 2 p.m. UK time, and Mr. Steve will be here as well. Yes, there he is. Can you see him? Yeah. Mr. Steve will be with us as well on Sunday. We will be back. Don't forget also, on Sunday, it is episode 200 of English Addict. 200 episodes. So on Sunday, we will have our 200th English Addict with myself and also Mr. Steve as well. You can watch this lesson again. There will be captions as well. And I hope to see you again soon, which will be on Sunday. The usual time, 2 p.m. UK time, is when I'm here with you. And I will see you then. Thank you very much for your company. I hope the past hour has been useful. Sometimes fantasizing about something, pretending, can be very therapeutic. It can. However, it is also important to make sure that you stay in the real world as well. Keep it real, everyone. Keep your feet on the ground. And maybe sometimes you can have your head in the clouds as well. Catch you on Sunday. This is Mr. Duncan in England saying thank you for watching. Thank you very much for joining me. See you soon. And of course, until the next time we meet here, right here on YouTube, you know what's coming next. Yes, you do. Ta-ta for now.